Okay, here we go for round two. We're going to be focusing on the core now, our powerhouse. So do what you can, and maybe you want to, do this a few times over a course of a couple weeks and see how much you improve. But the basic is that if it feels good, then keep going. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, right? Okay, so with that said, let's start in child's pose.
Yay.
And with our core work, do have the blocks and the blanket just readily available because you don't know when you might want to grab one. Starting in child's pose, we're just going to take a few breaths here, grounding our forehead and just kind of grounding ourselves and getting ourselves into our bodies. So feel your rib cage expand as you inhale. And as you exhale, just let your belly button fall into your spine, even though it's against gravity. The core is big balance, right? It's all about balance. The core holds us up during balance. So we'll be focusing on a bit of balancing stuff too. Inhale and draw yourself up to hands and knees. Make sure your knees are hip distance apart and your feet are aligned with your knees. And you might want a blanket underneath, and you might want a blanket underneath your wrists, just depending. So we'll start on an exhale and ground ourselves into cat. Inhale into cow. So keep your hands grounded, your knees grounded, and just focus on moving the spine, one vertebrae at a time, and then your head just kind of follows along. It's interesting, we tend to want to have our head lead the way. Try to have your hips lead the way and your shoulder blades glide, and your head doesn't do that much movement. Does that make sense? Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I'm busy breathing.
And then focus on one more nice long breath. And then we'll come back to neutral spine. And then draw your right leg back and your left arm up, coming into a spinal balance. Make sure you don't externally rotate that leg and draw it up higher than the hip. Keep it tucked down. The foot points straight to the floor. And we breathe here. Press through that left arm, or your right arm. It'd be your right arm. And reach through the left, press with the right. And then ever so slowly, draw your knee to your elbow. Squeeze, and then lower down. Make sure you come back down in alignment. And then we'll draw the left leg straight back, toes pointing down, a little bit of internal rotation of the hip. And then draw your right arm up, press through the left arm. You're just looking straight down between the thumbs, or at your left thumb, and then we'll breathe here. After you start fatiguing out muscles that want to work instead of your core kicks in. Nice deep breath here. And then ever so slowly, draw the knee and the elbow together, squeeze, and then lower down. Good. Bring ourselves to a seated position. Start with your feet together in a seated cobbler's pose. Let's do a little bit of leg stretch so that we can have good range of motion. Roll the shoulders back. You can bring your hands under your feet. You can have your hands on your shin, on your knees. Try to draw the shoulder blades together wherever you are. And feel your sit bones. Can you feel your sit bones?
Got him.
Yeah, you can rock side to side to feel those things. One side will be different than the other. Then we'll breathe here. And then bring your left leg out, and your right foot comes to the inner thigh. You can grab a strap here, or you don't have to use a strap, but if you have tight hamstrings like me, a strap is our friend. And also, a strap kind of helps because then you can squeeze the shoulder blades together even more, strengthening the back, right? So just hinge forward and feel a nice hamstring stretch. But try not to hinge forward with your head. You want to keep your head back, keep your shoulders back, and just hinge from the hips. So you feel a true hamstring stretch.
What's the difference?
Yes. And then bring yourself back, grab your leg, and pull it out to the side. Lower it down, and then feel a nice inner leg stretch there. I just made this up, but it feels good. Yeah. Inner leg muscles, they connect right to our pelvis, right? And our core connects right to our pelvis. And so if our inner legs are tight, it's obviously going to cause weakness in the core, right? come back to center and switch sides. So your left foot, and if you need a block underneath your knee, that's can be really nice.
I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure your foot's not under your leg.
Oops.
Your foot's just on the
Gotcha.
inside of your leg. And then your toes are pointing straight forward. You roll your shoulders back, and then you just hinge from the hips and notice that you don't go very far.
True.
I don't go very far. But it feels good, right? It's a true stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And we breathe here. And try to relax this left leg as we breathe, right? It's easy in a stretch to start holding tension in places. So if we can be mindful of those areas that we feel tension and just really focus on creating safe and healthy tension, like in our shoulder blades right now, then we're only benefiting our bodies. Good, and then straighten yourself, and we'll wing it on out to the side.
Ooh.
I know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I've really missed about yoga is like stretching my inner leg muscles. I feel like those things never get any attention in my daily life
They've
anymore.
forgotten how to work.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I don't know, you just become disconnected after a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I find it's really hard for me to hold myself up here.
Yeah.
That must be weakness in my core. Hopefully after a few of these little things we have in our future poses of our core. Okay, back to center. You have to share blocks with me.
Okay.
All right, so scoot a bit forward on your mat. I'll take this block, you take that block, and we will put it between our knees.
Oh, I remember this.
I know. You want to try to keep your feet flat on the floor, toes pointing forward, and then you also want to try to keep your spine nice and straight. All right, so if you just let go here, because you already feel your thighs engaging, and your back and your core, then we're gonna take our straps. I'm already knotting my strap. And then wrap the strap around the balls of the feet. And then you want to try to keep your feet apart, but you know, they might come together. And then here you can pull yourself forward, and you can lean yourself onto your tailbone. And you can pull yourself forward and lean back onto the tailbone, right? And now pull yourself forward to your sit bones. You feel that? Like the little crunch, your muscles rolling over the sit bones. Then lean yourself back just in front of the tailbone. So you're not on your tailbone, but then you're not on your sit bones. There's a nice little mushy spot there, right?
Got it.
Yeah. And then try not to move your back and draw your legs up. It's so hard, especially if you haven't done this in a long time. Like, over a year. Roll your shoulders back, try to get yourself up. Take a deep breath in and squeeze your block really hard. And then release the strap and hold.
Oh, hold.
Yeah, without moving. Then take your hands to your heart, and it gets even more fun. You drop your elbow down to one side and hold.
Oh my.
And breathe. And then bring yourself back to center. And then slowly to the right. Is anybody else's boat slowly sinking? Mine's sinking. And then come back to center. Good, reach for your feet. Oh, and then just let yourself rock back. Oh. Okay, that was good, huh? All right, then we'll try to pull ourselves back up.
Oh, that's not working.
I know, but we have some more fun to do. Okay, how about some aerobic core work?
Excellent.
All right, let's fold our mats up. You maybe fold yours up to the front, yeah, and then I'll fold mine to the back, and then we'll have ample amount of room, but yet we can still have people watch us suffer through this next move. So a yoga mat or a towel, anything that is going to slide on the floor, and if you're doing this on carpet, right, because some of us might be, you can lay like a plastic garbage bag down, and that will help get you movement on the carpet. I haven't tried it, so let me know how it goes for you. Yeah, okay, there's different variations to this. So you can have a block between your knees and your feet down. Your arms definitely go behind you, but you can have a blanket, another blanket, or something underneath you if you need. And you can just squeeze your side abdominal muscles together, just like this. But we don't want to bend the knees. The knees stay pointing, right? So they're not going to move. They stay pointing up towards the ceiling.
Oh.
And you just move your elbow to your foot. But you don't get to lift your elbows either,
Oh.
right? So your sacrum and your shoulder blades are on the floor and they don't move. You're just pivoting from one side to another. Do you remember this from the old days?
Oh my goodness, it's been so long.
So you can do this and you can go faster and faster and faster, but you don't get to roll. There's no rolling. It's not rolling. It's just pivoting. Then you can go a step number 2 and bring your legs up, and then you can feel your hips moving side to side here. Yeah? Where do you feel this?
Ooh, I would say my lower back.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Shoulders.
Uh-huh. So I'm going to help a little. So
Because
here
I'm trying to lift my
And you're going
shoulders.
here.
My shoulders want to raise.
and here, right?
Hmm.
Here. So see how your knees aren't moving at all? I mean, they're not going this way or this way.
Right.
Yeah, we're pivoting.
It's the challenge of keeping the shoulders on the floor.
But your hips and your elbows have to go in the same side. Yeah, like that.
It's worse, girls and boys.
So you can also bring your knees fully together and pivot side to side. So once you get the movement, you can go faster and faster and faster and faster.
Well, for some of us, we're not.
You can do this
We're moving.
for full 20 minutes or 10 minutes, or we can just be like, that's enough. But you want to try to just pivot. So here's something else we can do. Let's try it this way. Let's pull our mats back out. Because so sometimes we just don't even use these muscles at all, right? And so we're not connected to them in any way. And if it's your first time doing it, boy, oh boy, do you feel it already. Can you feel it though?
I'm picturing a hot Epsom salt bath.
Yes.
Just a healthy suggestion.
Yes. Okay. So now take your blanket to the top of the mat here. And then you're going to sit on the mat and your feet are going to be on the blanket. And your block. I know, I always get get us into position and then we forget the blocks. Okay, so just come back onto your elbows for now so you can, and then push your hips all the way to the edge of your mat. Right? Yeah. Okay. And then you're just going to move just your feet and your hips side to side. But see, nothing else can move, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, and so we can just do this, because essentially now you go all the way back and move, but see how my knees they're not rocking.
Right.
They're just going side to side, and it's the same movement, just without your upper body, right? So once you get this movement down, then you can start moving the upper body, right? Do you feel that?
Well, I'm totally cheating and just staying up here for a while. Age has its benefit, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so anyways, that's a way that you can try to start getting that movement, right? If you're not feeling like you got it in the fast pace core aerobic
It's
workout.
good wiggly though.
It is good wiggly. Okay, so we might cut off a little bit on this this next pose on the video, but we'll see what we can do. I don't have myself here, and if you want your, we're gonna touch. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're gonna we're gonna work our core a little bit more.
Oh darn.
Okay, I'll cut off a little. All right. So what we're gonna do is have our arms out, and you can have your arms up on a block if needed, legs straight as your hamstrings will allow, and then keeping your legs or your arms down. Draw your legs off to one side, and then you want to look at your ankles and make sure your ankles are aligned, because one leg will want to be back farther.
Mm-hmm.
So push your feet together.
Okay.
And then from there, you're going to lift your top leg up, and your bottom leg is going to stay on the ground until it can't anymore, and then it passively gets pulled along the way. You use your core to push you to the other side, and then your top leg gently and slowly lowers back down. But you don't get to bring your legs together at all until your lower leg has touched the mat. So you've already cheated.
I've already cheated.
Yeah. So
Okay.
your top leg goes up,
Yep.
and it pulls the bottom leg. And the legs stay completely apart the entire time until that bottom leg touches the floor. And then you can bring your top leg slowly down on it, right? So you're kind of doing the splits all the way up, all the way over, and all the way back down. It's a lot of self-control, right? To keep that passive leg passive and not let it come up and over together, right?
True.
Do you feel it in your core?
Well, question as well, if you got elbows and shoulders that don't want to stay put
Uh-huh.
on the ground.
Put them on a block, or put your hands on a block.
Okay.
Yeah, you can always have your arms up because you want this movement and having tight shoulders. The hip and the core movement is more important than keeping the shoulders on the ground.
Okay.
But when you come down, you always have to look at your ankles
Whoop!
and make sure that
They cheated.
they realign.
They
All
cheated.
right. So one more, and then bring your legs together. Roll yourself around. And then we'll come back to child's pose
Oh, good.
for a minute. Oof, less than a minute. Yeah, so speaking of inner leg muscles, there they were.
They were. We found them.
We found them. In the most fun way. Yeah, see, we just do what we can, and even if we do like one or two of them, we're still doing it, right? And even if we don't
Yes.
get it right away, we're still doing it. And we also have to teach our minds to connect to those areas, and sometimes that takes a little while, right? Okay.
And even if you try it and don't get it perfect, at least you're trying.
Yes, and it might take a long time before we get anything perfect, and we're not striving for perfection.
No.
So we just laugh at ourselves. Onto the bellies.
Ooh.
Oh, this is the best so far. We can take our hands, our arms, and stack them. Lower your forehead down. So I'll have my forehead up because I'm talking, but if we all have our forehead down, our necks are neutral. You're gonna bring your legs up. Just your knees. Bend your knees. Bring your legs up. What are we doing? Oh yeah, okay. And then slowly, you're gonna keep your pubic bone pressing down into the mat, but you're gonna draw your right leg up. But you're not letting your hips come up at all. You're just drawing that leg up so your feet stay parallel with the ceiling. Yeah. And you should feel this in your glute, yeah? Or even in your hamstring, right? So our hamstrings are always tight, but that doesn't mean they're strong. Then we'll lower down. Hi, Maxwell. And then we'll draw the left leg up.
The dog says don't do it.
The dog is jealous, and it wants to do some yoga. Yeah. Left leg up. Yeah. And it stays. It doesn't go out. It doesn't move. It just goes straight up and then lower back down. So pretend like a string is pulling you. Now bend your knees a little bit more so your feet come a little bit closer to your glutes. And then we'll do it again, the right leg up.
And pubic bone staying down, yeah?
Well, you can feel your hip bone, right? Can you feel the hip bone on that right side? Yeah, that stays down for sure. Yeah. But sometimes pushing the pubic bone down isn't good for our low backs. So you want to be mindful of your low back. And then the left leg comes up. Good. So it looks easy, doesn't it?
But I'm sweating.
It seems like it should be easy. All right, good. Lower down. Lower your feet down. Curl your toes under. Take your hands to your chest. Now you're going to pop your pubic bone up. And then you're going to press yourself up and back to child's pose. And so child's pose, we just want to really focus on stretching out the low back. So, getting your head all the way down might not matter at this point. Just you feel stretching your low back. Yeah.
Get my shoulders back. Shoulders down.
Yeah. Just taking a couple breaths here. Good. And then inhale, bring yourself up. You can always pause and stay in child's pose as long as you want.
Good idea.
For the rest of the duration of the core class. All right, so we're in plank pose. Either your knees are down or you can pop your knees up. But notice even if my knees are down or I pop them up, I'm not moving forward and back. You can just do this all day. And you're in a plank pose. My spine is not moving, just my modifications, right? And then exhaling back to down dog. I'm not moving my hands or my feet, but it's a nice resting position if you need it. And then we'll bring ourselves forward to plank pose. And then we'll turn our feet to the left, but my chest stays where it is. You're using those side abdominal muscles again, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, if you're on your knees, you just turn to one knee and then turn to the other knee. Or again, see my knees aren't really changing anything. Or you can just drop one knee down is good too. And then back to the other side, and then back to the other side. But nothing about my upper body is moving, just my hips. or at least I think nothing about my upper body's moving, but my abdominals are moving, but my shoulders are not, right?
Shoulders want to.
Yeah, okay. And then tuck down.
Ooh, I like this part.
That was hard. This is hard. Whose idea was this? Okay, great.
It was my idea, sorry.
We'll draw ourselves forward and then slowly lower your chest down and then onto your belly. Life's been easy for a while, okay? It's been easy. Okay, first start a Sphinx pose. All right. Elbows are under the shoulders, right? Middle fingers are pointing straight forward. And then you can push into your elbows and then reach from the crown of the head. Our legs are, our kneecaps are off the mat, right? And we're pressing our feet into the floor. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, that's
The
good.
tops of the feet, right?
Tops of the feet, yeah. And then lift your right leg up. Keep it straight, just lift it up. Oh my. And then lower it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then lift your left leg up. Keep it straight. And lower it down. And lift both legs up.
I'll
Press.
modify that.
I don't know if there are modifications to it. Just both legs up. And then here's the fun part. Take a deep breath, push your belly in, and then draw your arms back behind you. But your legs are up. And you're reaching from the crown of the head. And then you're just going to breathe here.
I don't think so.
Inhale, press the belly in. Exhale, back. And then, inhale, and draw your arms over your head. Oh, no, gosh. One more breath, because we're breathing. Now, here's the fun part. You put your hands down without moving. You curl your toes under, and then you look down and just press yourself straight back to a plank pose. And then tuck yourself back to child's pose.
Whew.
Whew. Yeah.
Mm.
That was a good warm-up, don't you think?
Those double legs up. That's a challenge.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
A few restorative breaths here. I feel like we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Max doesn't think we deserve it.
No, he wants me.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some planks. Some lunges and some warrior ones, warrior twos, and warrior threes. And so just have your blocks at the top of the mat ready to go. And if you need more than one block, you can. Or if you need a stool or something, like whatever you need. And then just make sure that this feels okay. If it doesn't feel good, just stand and see what happens. So let's start in plank pose and we'll work our way up. Because this is the core class. So draw your right leg up and now you're in your lunge, right?
Well, kind of.
So grab your blocks. Or you can start in lunge.
There
you
we
can
go.
definitely start in lunge. And
There we
come to
go.
your blocks if you need to, right? You'll probably want your blocks because we're going to be moving around here. You can bring yourself up on a lunge if you want, or stay on your blocks, or keep your hands on your hips, whatever feels good. And then from here, we're going to just turn that back foot out and come into warrior one, but then you're going to walk yourself together a little bit more. Warrior one, you're bringing your hips forward, right?
Okay.
All right, we'll see how this goes. From warrior one, we'll straighten the leg and drop ourselves into pyramid. And again, if you need to walk your feet together a little bit, you can. From pyramid pose, you can come to your blocks, or you can just bring yourself up into a warrior three. Attempt to keep your hips level. So in warrior three, we tend to want to come out like this. Keep yourself together. Keep yourself together. Keep it together. Good, and then here's the fun part. You get to just drop right on back to warrior one. And then you get to turn your foot in and you're in a lunge. Whoa. Yep. And then you get to drop yourself down and now you're in a plank pose. Now plank pose feels like a break.
True.
And now you're going to walk your left foot up and you're in your lunge. See, when we get fatigued, that's when our core really kicks in too, right? You can bring yourself up on a lunge. And then turn your right foot out. You bring yourself closer together and your hips straight forward. Warrior one. Straighten the leg, pyramid pose. And in pyramid pose, you want to keep your chin down, reach from the crown of your head. You can have your blocks here easily, but you want your hip to roll down. You don't want to be up here, you want to be down here. And then you kind of see your back toes, they're like a little flinger, right? Just fling yourself up to warrior three. Yeah? It's fun. It's childlike. Toe flingers. We have our own toe flingers.
Mm-hmm.
Press through that left leg, and then you can just lock yourself back. Warrior one. And then come down into your plank pose, because that's restorative at this point. And then walk your hands back to your feet. Make sure your feet are aligned. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, round yourself up. Draw your arms all the way over your head.
Oh, yeah.
Exhale through your heart chakra. Take your hands down to your side. Drop the chin to the chest. Roll your head around. And in the opposite direction. And come back to center. Roll the shoulders down. Release the wrists. Good. Just roll your hips around. And in the opposite direction. And come back to center. Come up onto your tippy toes. Lower down. Tippy toes. Takes a minute. Lower down. Good. And then exhale. Just close your eyes and let all of your muscles relax. Your hands can come to your heart center. And if you would like, namaste. All right, so warm up, core. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back for hips and shoulders.